after you finish cutting out your pattern, you should have the 2 pieces for the mask, 2 of the 3 1/4 inch for the sides, and 2 20-inch for the straps. Sorry, 2 40-inch for the straps. But if you have not on the fold and you cut 2 20s, just join them together like I did. So if you don't want to use all the, it's just a more efficient way to use your fabric if you cut 4 20-inch straps and then join them together. Or if you have plenty of fabric, just put 2 of these on a fold and cut 40-inch straps for the top and bottom of the mask. So you put both of your face masks together. So wrong sides together. So after you put your pins in, if you want to keep the fabric in place, you can. If not, just put it right under your machine and all the way around the face mask. Sew 1/4 inch seam allowance. Just pivot at the corners and turn. And just take out your pins. Okay, so all based together. So now you're going to find out which is the top or the bottom. If you didn't mark it on your pattern, the easiest way to find the top is if you fold it together, you'll notice that the top of your pattern is a little bit less wide than the bottom. So, see that? So this is your top. Also, a different way to do that is fold it in half. If you fold it up like that, you can see a distinct difference between the top and the bottom. Right here, see that? So this is your top. So then I have a little fabric pen. I mark that this is the top. Just like that. So now I know this is the top. So I lay it down on my table and then I make the 3 pleats. So the object of the 3 pleats, so easy, is to make this end, the sides, 3 inches across. So just fold. The pleats end up being about 1/4 inch. Kind of just guesstimate. If you want to be dead on exact, you can if you want. But this should be, plus I've made a lot of these masks, but 3 little pleats. No need to mark anything, just kind of do, if it makes it easier, do 1 on each side and then do a middle one. And then just do a little measuring to see how you did. So I'm about 3 1/4 over, but that's okay. Do the same thing for the other side. Try to get them a little bit even, so kind of just hold it out like that. Pin. Same for the next one. I usually do the top and bottom first, but they'll kind of fall into place after you do one side. And then the third one. Actually, I'm going to do the top and bottom first. Just goes better. See that? It kind of pulls together once you do the top and bottom. And then the middle one fits perfect. Okay, so you've made your pleats on each side. This is the top. See the top that's marked? So this is the inside, right? Because the pleats are going up. So if you flip it around, your pleats are going down. That is the outside. This is the outside. When somebody puts this on, the pleats should be going down, just like that. So you take your 2 little 3 1/4 inch side strap, binding straps, and you put it on the outside that people will see. You put that down. Right side against right side. And you sew that on. If you feel more comfortable pinning this in place, go right ahead. 1/4 inch seam allowance. And stitch that right across the side. It's just important that you have it on the outside of the mask, not on the inside. Just creates a nicer. So now what you're going to do is you're going to see that. So the pleats are going down. And it should look like that. So then we'll do the other side. Pleats going down. Pleats going down. Right sides together. I mean, if you did make a mistake and put it from the inside, it's not a big deal, but once you flip that around, you're gonna have your top stitch facing everyone. But I mean, it's not the end of the world. If you do make a mistake and put it on the inside, you can still do it, and it's not a big deal. Okay, put that down. Again, you can pin that in place if you really want to. You can just lay it, 1/4 inch seam allowance, back stitch. I'm comfortable sewing over my pins. If you're not, just take them out as you go. Cut threads, pull out your needles, and there you have, this is the top. Pleats down, and your side binding is on. What we're gonna do now is press these pleats into place and press this. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna fold down 1/4 inch and then fold again and put right along your stitch line that you made inside. And then you're gonna sew along as close to the edge as you possibly can. So let me show you once I take it to the press. Okay, so just lay down your mask, kind of pinch it, see how the pleats form. Do the best that you can, hold it down in place, press. Meanwhile, pushing out these side bindings that you put on. Okay, there we go. All pressed. And then you press your side bindings out. So now we press 1/4 inch up. And then fold it again to be in the right half. And just press it right along your stitch line that you already made. For the other side, press up a 1/4 inch hem. So see what I've done? 1/4 inch. Then I fold it again, right up to meet that stitch line that you made when you sewed it together. So fold it so that it hides that stitch line. And you're gonna press that right there. So you're gonna take that back to the machine. That stitch line right there, cover it, and you're going to stitch all close to the edge as possible, right there. So of course here again, you can either pin this in place, kind of like this with 1 pin or 2 pins, whatever you need to hold the fabric in place. But you're going to stitch as close as you can to the edge of that fold that you made, so that when you turn it over to see the outside, your stitch will be as close to the seam as possible. Okay. Back stitch. Take out your pin. So you've made that stitch along that binding, you turn it over, and it's in that seam. Great job. Do the same thing for the other side. Okay, so both binding sides are on. Now you're going to find the top. This is the outside of the mask. pleats are down, right? So that's the outside. Okay, so right sides together, you're gonna fold it. So again, that's the outside, the right side towards everyone once you put it on. So you fold that side together. And you are going to make your dart. So you could either put this on your pattern and mark. That kind of like looks like a ladder on the pattern. Just copy that. I've made so many, I know where the dart goes. So just either mark it with a pin or with your fabric pin. So if you mark it with a pin, you say, I'm gonna sew from there to there. That way, you're gonna make a stitch right there on your pattern. You can see the dart on your pattern. So take that. So the dart's made, and then you do the same thing for the bottom dart. Hold it together, find the center, and then your pattern will have a little line. You're gonna copy that exact line. That. If you have to put pins in it, go right ahead, just to hold the fabric in place. So this is creating a spot for the chin and the nose. There. So because these are just small seams, just leave them. Some people may snip them off, but that will create fabric fraying when they go in the wash. So because it's just a small little hem inside, don't worry about it. Just leave it the way that it is. Don't stitch. So there, you turn it out right, and you've created a nose and a chin. So you've got the base done. Now we are ready to put on the top and bottom straps. So this is where you take your two 40-inch straps, and we're going to put it to the top and the bottom of the mask. If you've made the two 20 pieces because you didn't have a fold, just join them together like I did. That will create the center, which will make it easier actually. And you've created that 40-inch strap. So you find your center where you've created the nose and the mouth pleat, and you put the center right on the center of the mask. I usually put one pin in place just to hold it right there, so I know that is the center. Of course, make sure you have it on the right sides together. So the outside of the mask, you put the strap on the outside of the mask because you're going to fold it inside. And again, you could do this where you put multiple pins. If you're not comfortable just sewing without pins, pins and pins to keep it in place, and you can do that all along, or you can just put one in the center, start sewing a 1/4-inch seam all the way top and bottom of the strap. It's a little thicker where that pleat is, so just fight with it for a little bit and you should be able to make it over the pleat. So right to the other end, your back stitch. Take out your pins and then you do the other side. Okay, so you have the top and the bottom binding on. There's the top, there's the bottom binding. Sorry, this is the top. It's looking good. So we're going to take this to the iron and I'll show you how we're going to press down these straps to sew them together. So as soon as I lay it on the ironing board, I press down what I just sewed, which is the two straps, just to get it flat. Okay, so then you flip over your mask so the inside is facing up. And then you press down 1/4 of an inch, of course, on everything. I do the ends first. 4 ends. This end. So each end of the strap I press down 1/4 of an inch. And then I do the side of the mask first, or the sides towards the mask. So I start 1/4 inch at the end, fold, 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 all the way down the other side, just folding 1/4 as I go. There. Then I do the other side that is towards the mask, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. And honestly, if you have a better, easier way of doing with the same end result, please don't feel like my way is the only way. This is just what I figured out works fast for me. I can do it under 15 minutes. But if you have easier ways, seriously, feel free to go for it. Okay, so both sides are done. That's facing the masks. Then I fold these in on the other side, 1/4 of inch again. The same as the other side, and then just fold it toward the mask. There. So you can see it better. Coming together. Then you go to the other side. Fold that down toward the mask, 1/4 inch. Same as the other side. Okay, getting there. Okay. Now we are going to take, I'm going to show you real quick. Okay. So, you can see what I've done. I've got both ironed in together. So hard to show you. There we go. 2/4 inch. And now I'm going to take, this is the end that I've pressed up. So I've pressed up the end first, then folded in each side. I'm making a binding, your own, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold each of these straps directly down the center. So, okay, keep it laid down there flat like that. And then we're going to fold completely in half. After you've made your 2 sides 1/4 inch hems, now you're going to fold those as best as you can to keep them exactly together, so directly in half. And you'll see that when you fold it directly in half, it's going to come down over your mask right here, right to your stitch line. And that is where you're going to sew over so you can't see those stitches. All right, so press, press. All right, that's one. And then you do your other strap. Okay, there, all the way to the other side. Okay, let's take this back to the machine and we are going to sew what we just pressed. Sew it on and we'll be done. Okay. Okay, so here's what you've pressed. You've pressed this all the way up, so it's half, correct? So quarter inch, and you fold it in half, press it down towards the mask. So now we are going to we're going to sew this where you pressed it over the stitch line that you made when you put on the binding. So we're going to sew right along there. Again, if you want to put pins on here, you can. Totally up to you. If you feel more secure with pins, go for it. I've done enough that I don't need to put pins in right now, so I'm just going to start sewing. Depending on which way you like it on your machine, which direction the fabric is showing, I always want this binding to be up, right? So this is the outside. I want this up towards me. So I'm going to start with this end of the strap so that the opening is away from me. Makes sense? So this opening is away from me. I backstitch and then turn. And as close as I can to the edge, I'm going to sew all the way down the strap and top of the mask. As close to the edge as you possibly can while grabbing both sides. When you get to the mask, make sure you have your fabric. I'm going to zoom in here. Make sure you have your fabric over the stitch line that you made. So make sure you cover that stitch line and continue staying right on the edge, as close as you can to the edge. The other side till you get to the end, and then you pivot and then backstitch to close off the end of that strap. Cut off your threads. Okay, so you should have a stitch line like that on the inside, and then on the outside you should just see a little stitch either on the binding or in the seam. Either doesn't matter, as long as you've cut all of the fabric. So then we're going to do that exact same thing for the other side. Fold facing out, away from you. Again, this is totally up to you. This works for me because I can hold the fabric the best. Back stitch. Then I pivot. And then all the way down. Close to the edge. Of course, keep in mind, cover that stitch that you made while sewing on the binding over that big dart. All the way down. Pivot and back stitch over the end. So it should look like that at the end, just kind of stitch across the bottom. Cut your threads. And congratulations, you have made a cover for an N95 mask.